always these people are over us in munitions, but we are given victory because of our spiritual strength and our moral uprightness, which is based on knowledge. Al-ilmu imam al-amal. Knowledge is the imam of action, and this is something. If we really want a true renaissance, and not just these kind of slogan, Islam is the solution, and Islam la sharqiyya la gharbiyya. If we want to transcend the slogan Islam, then I think we have to revive the sciences of the deen, and to this end we need youth that are willing to commit. I think there's benefit. Al-Qura in Mecca and Medina University have adopted Western methodologies completely, and I think that my own experience from people that have graduated from those schools, by their own admittance, had told me that they've actually felt deprived at the end of the experience. That might not be true for all graduates. I can't speak for all the graduates, but I have met a considerable amount, particularly Western people, that have gone there and really did feel at the end of it that they actually had not acquired a whole lot of knowledge, and also the actual experience was very frustrating and difficult because of the social issues involved. I have not been to Syria myself. I think Mauritania is an incredibly difficult place to live. I mean, I personally got hepatitis, I got dysentery, I really suffered physically living there. But I did, in the Emirates, I lived with great Mauritanian scholars there and benefited greatly, and I think the Emirates is a place that there's potential to study with traditional sheikhs there. There are a considerable number of them. But I know Syria has some very good madrasas that are still in existence, and people have this idea of the government, and I think we need to get beyond this. What we want is the knowledge. If the government if these shuyukh are not speaking out against the government, I think that we should respect the basira and the firasa, this internal awareness of these teachers, that they're obviously they're trying to preserve the deen. And I think if they're out there shouting against the tyrannical leadership and end up in prison, they're not a whole lot of benefit to the ummah in prison. And it's certainly, we know the hadith that the greatest shaheed is the one who speaks the truth in front of an unjust tyrant. But I think we also have to understand that historically, those who did were one of literally tens of thousands of ulema that were present with institutions functioning. We're in an age that to lose one scholar it's a tragedy. It's a thulma. It's something really frightening. Literally to lose one scholar in Syria or Egypt now is the equivalent of maybe losing 10,000 a few hundred years ago. And I don't think, I don't think that's an exaggeration.
I think it's the case, since you get actually quite frightened when you hear that some great luminary has died, because you know that, okay, he had students, but nobody is anywhere near his level.
Near where his level is. So I think people have to be aware of the age we're living in. One of the things, Ahmed Zarruq ends his book Al-Qawa'id with the thing, عَلَى الْمَرْءِ أَنْ يَكُونَ عَارِفًا بِزَمَانِهِ. A man must know the age he's living in. And we have to understand the age we're living in, not be so simplistic and reduce issues to black and white. I mean, Muslims have been aware of fuzzy logic for centuries, right? I mean, that things are not black and white. That there are many, mushtabihat. There's, the Prophet ﷺ said, there's things that are clear, there's things that are unclear, and then there's things that are clearly haram, clearly halal, and بينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. Only a few people understand those things, and this is an age where people have to recognize that matters are not clear, things are not clear, and we have to trust the wisdom and guidance of people like Sheikh Saeed Ramadan al-Buti, who's criticized as being some government lackey. And the truth of the matter is that man is literally preserving Islam in Syria. He's, I think that, subhanAllah, it's really frightening what a lot of young people are.
Well, this black and white tendency, I suppose, is understandable given the fairly desperate situation of a lot of disenfranchised youth in the West. It's not just among Muslims, I think. You see, given that the established churches in British Christianity are dying on their feet now, precisely because they can't give clear-cut answers to the
issues of the age,
bewildering problems of the age. You see young people joining strange sects and factions and cults, like the Moonies or David Koresh in your part of the world, because they can give them clear answers and say, this
black
is right and this is wrong. And if you're with us, you're from the saved faction.
Right.
But if you do a little bit of that, then you're not acceptable. And all of those people, even though they're 99% of the people who claim to follow our religion, they're completely beyond the pale.
Right.
People like that.
They
like
it simplifies matters, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
We don't have to think.
Yeah.
We don't have أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Don't you use your intellects?
Yeah.
It's certainly easy just to surrender my mind to an ideology, which I hate that word. I really, it bothers me that people talk about the Islamic ideology, because nowhere do I find that. Even in Arabic, ideologia, there's not even a translation for the word. This idea that Islam is some kind of ideology. Islam is literally, I like the idea of orthopraxis, that it's a correct mode of behavior based on a clear understanding. But it's certainly not this ideology that we learn like a Marxist learns, the vocabulary of Marxism,
and then the slogans and your
the
symbols and your membership card.
The taghut,
the takbir, which becomes a kind of Sikh Heil that you shout in your rallies.
Absolutely.
No, I think there's a lot of useful comparisons that one can draw between the strange sects in Christianity, like the Moonies or the Branch Davidians or whatever, and some of the young cults that are appearing in the
Islam.
Muslim situation.
It's a good point.
In the West, but also in the Islamic world. They're the fruit of the same paradox, really.
And we need also to recognize this is something that I mention a lot, is that we need to recognize the historical context in which we live. That Islam, I literally believe that the vast majority of these groups now that have names, and I really don't want to go into naming people, and but the groups that adhere to these names and titles and things like that, they're going to be historical footnotes, in the history of Islam.
Sure.
We have the Murja'iyya, we have the Qadariyya, we have the Mujassima, we have the Mu'tazila, we have the Khawarij, we have all these Ibadiyya, and on and on and on, the Safavids, and all these sects that have come and gone. But Islam has remained. It has remained. Islam is not an ephemeral, temporal, contextual idea. Islam it's Deen al-Haq. It is the Deen of the truth, and it will remain. It will be preserved by the promise of Allah and the promise of His Messenger, by us or by other than us. وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you don't do it, Allah will replace you with people that will do it, and they won't be like you. And this is it. It's Islam will remain. We will all die, but Islam will remain, and it will remain by people, by human beings that stand up and preserve it in every age.